podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
How you doing, Ed?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm doing better than Shergar, who took one full on the nose. You know what I loved about that? You know, I'm not that I'm condoning horse violence of any kind, of course, but it's not just the punch. It's the way the Newcastle fan gives him the kind of come on sign. Go on, I'll have you. Come on, let's be having you. Come on. And then, before punching Shergar, he gives him a sarcastic round of applause.
That is it. That is the great moment in that whole thing. I don't know if it was actually directed at the horse, but it was drawn to my attention by the wonderful @MattSavage7. A full-on sarcastic, oh yeah, very good horsing, top quality horsing. The Sun, of course, went with Geordie Horse Puncher is on disability benefits, which is like, if only he was an immigrant, they would have hit the absolute jackpot there.
Oh, yes, a cracking story. But of course that was a story that kind of dominated the weekend's headlines in a way, wasn't it? You know, trouble in the FA Cup semi-final, trouble between Newcastle and Sunderland fans, British football in meltdown, shocker. Perhaps it'll be kicked out of Europe, you know. I mean, not just in the legitimate fashion that all English clubs are being kicked out of Europe at the moment, but, you know, by the powers that be in Michel Platini's house.
Yes, I guess I don't know if it really marks a new resurgence of football violence, a bunch of Millwall fans punching each other. I'm not sure that's a thing that's stopped happening, is it?
Well, no, I mean, I guess that's just what they do in the estates of Newham or wherever. But, I mean, talking of football violence, Andy Carroll versus David De Gea, that wasn't just a red card. Well, I can't believe people are justifying this. These were 2 red cards. It was so much violence.
And talking of violence involving Geordie horses, you mean?
Da-dum.
@EWHK70 asks, would you rather fight a horse-sized Geordie or a Geordie-sized horse?
You know, I was thinking that moments after I saw that footage of the Geordie punching Shergar.
Yeah.
He wasn't actually called Shergar. He was called, like, Dobbin or something.
Yeah.
Bud,
Yeah.
that's it. Bud, also known as Shergar on this show. The moments after he punched Shergar, I was thinking, this is the Twitter question waiting to happen.
Yeah, if you could punch any horse, who would it be and why? Obviously, it's Geordie-sized horse, because I can't see any advantage to punching a horse-sized Geordie, as David De Gea found out, much to his chagrin.
Chagrin? Wasn't that the winner of the Derby last month?
Yeah, then he went missing the day after, or have I got this muddled up? Listen, Ed, I would be remiss, whilst we're talking about the troubles of the world, not to point out that a rather joyous moment has befallen the world, as Manchester United's next hot central midfielder, young Eric, was born this week. I understand that you've taken the executive decision that us and all the podcast listeners would not think is a good idea of not calling your newborn son Eric. What is all that about?
Yeah, well, see, it works like this. I may have suggested Eric and variants of other United-related names. The moment I turned my back and left the hospital for a second, or a few hours, all of the midwives were given a different name, a non-United related name, and when I came back it was basically set in stone. So that's how it works. You can have an opinion, but basically you don't make the decision, which is probably fair enough after you've spent the best part of a day trying to squeeze a melon-sized thing out of a lemon-sized hole.
Ed, joking aside, I know that I speak on behalf of the listeners when I offer a very, very heartfelt congratulations on the birth of little baby Harvey. And of course, it is a United-related name because, as we all know, the wonderful Musa Okwonga, christened Robin Van Persie the Wolf midway through this season because he came on to save us so often after the Wolf in Pulp Fiction, who is played by Harvey Keitel. So we know that secretly the kid's named after Robin Van Persie. And that seems like...
This is true. It's a secret between me and you and 10,000 listeners.
So, are you coping all right? Have you managed to watch the football?
I have. In fact, little Harvey has watched United v Stoke and United v West Ham, and he cried both times. And I think it's because he didn't like the aesthetic around the football. You know, I've been teaching him the tiki-taka sensibilities, which, you know, I'm so often criticised for promoting, and he saw all this long ball nonsense, and he had a good cry about it. I don't blame him.
He was 2 days old when we beat Stoke 2-0, but my theory that we would therefore beat West Ham 5-0 proved to be a load of old bunkum, as one may well have rightly predicted that it would, because as about everyone in the world said, that would mean we'd beat Arsenal about 30-0 or something. So let's go back to that game against Stoke, and Rooney in the full Scholes role alongside Carrick in centre midfield was an interesting one.
Funny thing, just to digress a little, the little one's a little bit ginger, got to say. Maybe strawberry blonde, and he's quite small, and he's, I've had a look at his feet and they look pretty good. Next midfielder.
He scores goals galore in 20 years.
Indeed, yeah. So Stoke away, and actually not a bad performance from United, was it? I mean, I guess you'd go with a cliched professional. So pretty solid, scored a Stoke-style goal so early on, which helped, of course. Scrappy goal from the set piece. And after that, United weren't really in much trouble.
No, although there was a feeling that second half syndrome might be setting in. I mean, it's worth saying the wind in that game played a very, very, very significant factor, didn't it? Because it was blowing an absolute gale and the ball kept sort of holding up in mid-air and sort of rolling backwards as it hit the ground.
It did. I mean, of course, the solution to that is to play it on the deck, of course. But yeah, it was a real problem for everyone, and I don't think having a wind behind your back really helps actually, because it just means you blast the ball out of play all the time. It didn't help Stoke, I don't think, and you'd think as a team that plays the percentages most of the time that it would have done. And so no, it didn't help anyone. Real mess. One real bonus that came out of their game: David De Gea. Commanding, solid, didn't look at risk at all. It looks like he's really grown up.
De Gea, De Gea. Why isn't that happening? Why is that not happening yet? Everybody, please do whatever you can to make that happen. He's brilliant. He's just brilliant, and he's getting better, and he was good again against West Ham when he was getting poleaxed by Andy Carroll. He just looks strong, confident. The thing that we all thought would happen, which is that if there was no doubt that he was definitely number one, he would grow and flourish and start coming to claim crosses and all that stuff, and he's just been doing exactly that.
Indeed. Another major talking point, I suppose. Shinji Kagawa started and finished a game. How often does that happen? Not very.
No, he didn't have a magic game, but he's playing out of position, everybody. I don't know if you've heard us talking about this, every week for the last 6 months or whatever, but he's not as good when he plays on the left as he is at number 10.
Look, maybe Fergie will understand this. He's bought a jump horse and he's running him on the flat. Or the other way around. Yeah,
there was one point when he just sort of drifted inside and he ended up, beating 3 players and winning a really dangerous free kick just outside the box. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think next season is the thing even if we sign Falcao in the summer, we're not going to sign Falcao in the summer. Even if we sign Falcao in the summer, the thing I'll be most excited about next season is Shinji Kagawa.
Well, I would be, but you know what? I honestly don't believe that Ferguson really knows how to play him. Jay wrote a piece on the blog yesterday in which he said maybe this is a permanent move. Maybe Ferguson's got something in mind that he thinks Kagawa can give, which is that kind of outside to in, the kind of Andres Iniesta role for Barcelona when he plays on the left. I mean, he mixes it between the centre and the left, doesn't he, Iniesta? And Iniesta's very, very good at that. And Zidane played for a lot of his career as well off the left and coming inside as a playmaker. And it gives you, it opens out the field for you, And there's an argument to say that. Of course, I disagree, to be honest, but I think really Ferguson just doesn't know how to play him. I think he's got a team that he's set up to play wide all the time. He can't work out how to play him in the hole. He can't fit 3 players into 2 positions, Van Persie, Rooney and Kagawa. And so he's compromised Kagawa heavily by shifting him out to the left. I think he's about 75% of the player that he was at Dortmund, and I'm not sure it will change. So I'd be excited if I believed that there would be that change, and I don't at the moment.
I think you might be right, but we just might see it more often. And of course, it all depends on the thing that we'll no doubt come to, because every Twitter question is about this, the Rooney speculation. And, if he's not here next year, it all looks very different, obviously. I think he will be, probably, but whatever. I don't really know anything. The Stoke game, worthy of mention, I thought Van Persie smashed his goal drought in really impressive fashion. I think there's something about that situation where the ball is literally blowing off the spot, so he's delayed, he has to kind of respot the ball a couple of times. We're 1-0 up, and we've been on a really poor run of form. The narrative's shifting as much as the ball is in the wind at the moment. There's a lot of pressure on that moment, and he's been in a goal drought for 12 hours, and he just absolutely hit a beautiful penalty, and I think that was a real exhibition of class under incredible pressure.
Yeah, right. I mean, his goal drought has been terrible. The goals are coming, though, so look, it couldn't have been more composed. Right, and that's exactly what you expect of him. He's not always been composed in recent times. I thought it was tiredness. Apparently, he's been telling Ferguson that he's not tired and he wants to keep playing. Right, and it looked to me like he'd lost some edge. But the goal that was taken away at Sunderland and then the penalty at Stoke and then the debatable goal against West Ham has kind of ended that, hasn't it? And I think he could go from here and score 5 or 6 more goals before the end of the season, and that will be a very, very, very good season for United. Indeed.
Yeah, and I mean, it's already a very, very good season. You just get another one in there, right? Oh no, you gave it 2, so it's already a very good season, and you'll get up to 2 verys.
What I really should have said is get into full Jamie Redknapp mode and say it was a top season. Top season from a top player.
And top player, maybe even a top player, frankly. Oh, by the way, Stoke were absolutely rubbish. Really terribly, awfully rubbish. They really deserve to go down. They were complete and utter dross against us, I thought.
Yes, they were. They played crap football. They're a crap team, and they appear to have lost their one thing they had going for them, which was the ability to do something from set pieces and play the percentages.
Yeah, and of course, on the subject of the relegation battle, the reason that all those horses got brutally punched in the face was because some fascists stormed into town and stole the victory from the Toon or whatever. Paolo Di Canio single-handedly scoring 3 absolute belters, or that's what it would appear from the touchline. My favourite moment of that was when, at the end of the match, all the players were on the pitch running over to the away fans, and Di Canio ran up behind them, and fans started singing his name, and he's like, no, I'm pointing at the players. It's all about the players. It's not about me. I've just kind of come over here to soak up this thing, and then I made it all about me when all the goals went in, and clearly I think it's all about me.
Yeah, I mean, he's got them organised, but then again, the trains ran on time during World War II, didn't they, in Italy?
Yeah.
Not that the things are connected in any way, I just thought I'd draw that analogy. Yeah. Good luck to him.
No, not a good luck to him. No. It's kick fascists out of football, isn't it? Of course he's not a fascist. Not anymore.
Is he back to being a racist now?
No. He never was one of them. He's back to being a lovable character now after that.
Well, I mean, Sunderland, they're still in deep trouble, right? They're 34 points, same as Stoke, same as Villa. Wigan got 2 games in hand. One of that lot, those 4, are probably going down, right? And Norwich and Newcastle are sort of within it. Maybe it depends on how Wigan do, right? So it's all to play for still. Maybe they'll get the boost. Could be really funny if Stoke learn from this and go and sack Pulis and take their chances on 5 games to go and see whether they can get anything out of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny to see the Stoke fans turning on Pulis. It's outrageous how he's taken their club to, comfortable Premier League position for a few seasons on it. It's ridiculous. Anyway.
Well, it happens all the time, punished for your own success. I mean, it's the same with the teams that come up from the Championship next season. Those managers will be under severe pressure already.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking of managers under severe pressure, one who isn't is Big Sam Allardyce, who, but for an offside goal, would have had a famous, wonderful victory or something like that, he said.
Well, maybe he would have done, yeah. Or maybe United would have kicked into another gear and because they frankly looked quite complacent, I thought, the last 15 minutes or so. So maybe, or maybe not, Interesting this one because, you do have to get into the nuances of the offside law here because first phase, Van Persie's not active, right? He becomes active when he touches the ball. Of course, that's second phase and it's come off a defender. Now, the interpretation of this, and it's not actually in Law 12, but the interpretation of it is that it has to be a pass from the defender. That was some of the written guidance given by FIFA a few years ago, and it's taken deflection, not a pass. But, there's some subtle nuances in that one.
Yeah, especially since the deflection probably stopped it being a goal in the first place. So does that make it a new phase of play? No, it doesn't. He was offside. But, we get them from time to time in our favour, just as we get them against us. It all evens out in the end, as they so clichédly say every time stuff like that happens.
Does it? Does it even out in the end? Does it? I mean, yeah, of course, after Andy Carroll didn't receive the 2 red cards, or perhaps even 3 red cards that he should have got for the heinous challenge. I haven't seen a challenge that bad since, Harold Schumacher, the German goalkeeper on the French forward in the 1982 World Cup.
And Patrick Battistano.
That's him.
Yeah, broke his neck and didn't get a yellow. Not even a foul, I don't think.
It just goes to show that David De Gea is double hard these days.
De Gea with new De Gea. I'm not going to do this every week, just a one-off. A lovely new haircut from David De Gea. I thought it suits his little face quite well.
Well, he's gone from being like llama or whatever animal we decided he was to being kind of teddy boy. It's looking a bit 50s now, Heidi hi campers.
He's a big rocker, isn't he, David De Gea? He's into his Metallica and all that sort of thing. So maybe he's just acknowledging the birth of rock and roll with his hairdo.
He's a big rocker, but he's dating a pop princess.
Is he? Who's he going out with?
I think she's called Edurne or something like. To be honest, I thought Edurne was those little soybeans that you got in a sushi place, but
That's edamame, Edward.
I bet she's tasty though, isn't she?
There's no way she can be as good for you as edamame beans. Very nutritious. Who is she then? Where does she do her pop princessing?
She's a Spanish pop princess type princess.
Makes sense. So long as she doesn't persuade him to move back to Madrid, I'm happy. If Dave's happy, I'm happy, Ed. That's how it works, I think. So the West Ham game, apart from having our goalkeeper nearly murdered, incidentally, at the end of that game, David De Gea had a very manly hug for Andy Carroll, something which Nemanja Vidic refused whilst gesturing with his elbow to suggest, no, I do not forgive you for your elbowing. I believe you to be an elbower. But De Gea doesn't care. He'll just hug anyone.
Yeah, well, maybe he needed a hug after that. He's feeling a bit fragile after getting beaten up all game. Of course, Carroll did get booked for elbowing De Gea after he didn't get booked for trying to kill him.
At Mango_Carrot says, with Super Dave's new streamlined haircut, how much faster can he move due to wind resistance being lowered?
Well, yeah, at least a millionth of a centimetre per second. I've done the calculations. There's some fluid dynamics in there somewhere.
Fluid dynamics?
Liquid football.
The thing is, if De Gea starts moving any quicker, if his reactions get any faster, he will start travelling backwards through time.
Fact.
Yeah, definite fact. That game was weird. The 2 West Ham goals, where'd you start with the defending for those 2 West Ham goals?
Yes, well, not in the way that they defended it. It's pretty atrocious all round. I mean, the fact is, the guy scored a diving header from about 3 yards out, so that tells you the whole kind of mess there was for Vazquez's goal after, what was it, about 15 minutes or so. And then Diame's, no one made a challenge. No one did at all. And about 15 United defenders managed to turn their back on the shot. So it was a real mess. And for United's part, nice goal from Valencia. I mean, Kagawa's opened up the play very nicely there. He's done it a few times. Of course, he played almost the entire game on the left, got 8 minutes in the centre and was subbed off after creating 2 goals.
That's not quite true, though, because at the beginning of the beginning of the second half, Fergie shifted Rooney out. I was thinking about this when you said sacrificing one for the other, because Rooney was having such a bad game in a weird, God knows what position he was playing. He looked like he was playing in a midfield 3, basically. Jones was ahead of him a lot of the time. But anyway, at the beginning of the first half, it looked like he shifted Rooney out to the left and put Kagawa in the middle for a while. Longer than 8 minutes, I thought. But
yeah, maybe. I think it was more Kagawa drifting. But in any case, look, it's with just that conversation alone tells you all you need to know about the mess that is United's midfield. We had Kagawa playing in at least 2 positions, one of which is definitely not his. Jones played the entire game in a position that is not his. Rooney played out of position as well for much of the game, as he had done the game before against Stoke when he had a decent game. I thought the hype around that was a bit overblown. You start to wonder, when is it that United will actually utilise their best players in the right positions? I mean, Jones had an absolutely fantastic game at centre-back not long ago against City, and then he shifted back into midfield, where, frankly, I think he only does one thing well, and that's mark space. When he plays like a central defender in midfield, he has a good game. When he's expected to do anything else, like break forward, it's so mediocre, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he had a fantastic game at centre half. and then he had a very decent game at right back, and then a pretty average game in central midfield, and that is the descending order of Phil Jones's best position as of April 2013, right? It goes centre back, right back, centre midfield, and probably like if you can arbitrarily say playing as a centre back in centre midfield, he's better at that than right back, you know. But yeah, it's the whole tactical tombola thing, the whole playing players out of position. There were 3 players basically out of position in the Stoke game, and you said last week that you called it at the beginning of the season, and really this is all about the fact there are 2 things. One, the fact that most of our wingers are out of form, although definitely worth noting that there are the clear shoots of recovery in Valencia's performances recently. Anyway, the wingers are out of form, and 3 into 2 doesn't go, like you said earlier, right? Those are the 2 big problems with our shape as an attacking unit.
And I do hope that United try and resolve this in the summer to come, and we think about the next season ahead, because there'll be a bigger challenge. City will go out and spend, so will Chelsea. Arsenal look like they might have some kind of recovery. Who knows? You know, we'll see. They certainly got some budget, so you'd expect the challenge to be bigger next season. I would be really, really surprised if City are quite as bad as they've been this season. But hey, you know, I'm pretty surprised they've been this bad. So, you know, strange things do happen. Another question on midfield, since we're talking about midfield, Cleverly can't buy a game at the moment. What exactly has he done wrong?
He has murdered the dog that was the replacement for the dog that was murdered by Nanny in November. Sir Alex is just having bad luck with his players running over his dog on the way into training.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, maybe Cleverly tried to punch him.
Maybe Cleverly's punched the horse of Continuum. Maybe that's what's happened. Yeah, no, I mean, goodness knows, he had a very average game when he played on the left wing, but funnily enough, he's not a left winger. He's had some excellent games with Carrick in central midfield. I don't really know what's happened.
Yeah, very true. And you just got to wonder what his future is at United if he can't get into the team this crucial game at the time of the season, you know? I'd kind of forget Anderson. He couldn't even get on the bench for either of them. I'm not even sure if he's fit or not, to be honest, Anderson. But then you have Hernandez, who barely gets a game either. I mean, there's a lot of question marks around the periphery, aren't there? As well as there being question marks in the team because there are so many square pegs in round holes. Still, you know, United will limp towards this title. Hopefully, United will win it at Arsenal a couple of games' time. Could, in theory, win it against Aston Villa. I think that's unlikely, but you know, it's probably going to be at Arsenal where United secure it, and then we'll see after that, because of course the edge will go out of the season. I'd be surprised if United put in any decent performances in the last 3 games or so, but you know, we'll see.
I don't know. I think last week we talked a lot about limping to the title, and we talked a lot about the trickiness of the fixtures ahead. And the fact is, we've got four points out of 6 this week, and they were not easy games to deal with. So actually, it's pretty sort of effective, and we had some really good moments that didn't feel limp to me. So I think. I don't know, there's a little bit more life has been injected into this side in the last week than there had been the week before that.
All right, let's make a prediction, right, about the points total. So United got Villa, Arsenal, Chelsea, Swansea and West Brom, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, on paper, United beat Villa, West Brom and Swansea.
Yeah.
And that's another 9 points. That takes United to 90. And then it's what can United get out of games at home to Chelsea and away to Arsenal, you know? Take 2 points out of those to 92, take 4 to 94, take all 6 to 96 and Premier League record. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't think we're going to get maximum points between now and the end of the season. We had a question, actually, which I can't find. I'm really sorry to say who it was that tweeted us, but it was like, are we going to beat Chelsea's record points tally, and do you care about that? I definitely don't care about it. That's for sure. So long as we win the league, that's fine. And you know, the record points idea was it was a bit too soon, a bit of hubris, really, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, it was, you know, and look, all things being equal, I think United could get another 10 or 11 points out of these 5 games to go, and that would take United to 91 or 92, which is an outstanding record. You know, that's a really good points tally.
Yeah,
you know, really. And all things aren't equal though, because I think it will shake out that United probably do win the title against Arsenal. And if that's the case, I mean, of course, it depends on the result of the Emirates, and elsewhere with cities. If that's the case, I think some of the steam will fall out, and United will probably drop points, and we might end up on 89 points again.
Yeah, but, you know, it doesn't matter, because the points total doesn't matter after you've won the league. That's, you know, after you've won the league, go on holiday, get on the beach, I don't care, you've won the league, well done, lads.
Look, fair enough, but it does matter in terms of creating a benchmark for what it was that brought United success, and whether it's likely to be repeated again, doesn't it? You know, if we finish the season on 89 points, which is it would be a pretty poor performance from here on in, but a pretty decent performance overall. It's exactly the same points total as United had last season, and we'll have an inferior goal difference.
Yeah, but there's a point at which the numbers become slightly arbitrary, because the acquisition of points only matters whilst you're acquiring them for a reason. At the point at which you've won the league, the points have absolutely no empirical value anymore. So they no longer set any kind of meaningful benchmark, because the season is finished. You have won. You can't win anymore. They don't give you another league.
Fair enough. It doesn't really matter, does it? It doesn't really matter, but it's just an interesting side debate, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, look, you're right. United got 4 points out of those 2 games, away at Stoke and away at West Ham. That's pretty good, isn't it? 4 points at what you'd say are 2 tough games normally, although 2 teams are not that far away from the relegation zone, and one of them could still get relegated.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that didn't really turn out to be a tough game at all, as we suspected it may not last week, because of how terrible a Stoke. I guess we should do some Twitter questions, right? Before we move on to previewing what's going to happen in the Villa game.
All right, let's do it.
All right, at Yippers82 asks us a pretty easy question, I think. It might be Jippers, actually, but I'm assuming it's Yippers as in Yip Yap Stam. Do you agree with Gary Neville and Yippers' assessment that David De Gea is now the best keeper in the league, or is it too soon?
Well, it's probably too soon, but it's all coming together, isn't it? It's all coming together. I mean, if the performances in the last sort of month or so are replicated throughout a season, then you'd probably say yes. But Petr Cech's an excellent season as well, you know. So I have to say, if I was picking a dispassionate choice for Premier League goalkeeper of the season, he'd be my choice. But De Gea is not far behind.
No, and I think the resurgence of Petr Cech is the only reason that he's not. Joe Hart has had a conveniently terrible season. Terrible's harsh, but, you know, average season. And De Gea has just improved and improved and improved. And he's definitely the most fun keeper. But, you know, that save that Cech made from Chicharito the other day just goes to show that it's not just David De Gea that can bend the laws of the space-time continuum in order to make saves. And Cech is an excellent keeper too. But, as you say, there's just not much in it between the two of them. And that's wonderful because, you know, that would not have been the discussion 12 months ago, would it?
No, it wouldn't have done, and hopefully the critics are well in the background now and eating their words. Of course, it just all makes it more likely that Barcelona will put in a bid for the lad, because Victor Valdez has still not signed that contract, and looks like Barcelona will be in the market for a keeper this summer. Hate to throw that one out there.
No! I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to stay at Man United for the rest of his career, forever and ever and ever. I don't really think that, but I don't like to think about the alternative. Alright, thinking about unpleasant things to do with the future, at John Blaze asks, if Sir Alex was to retire, would you be excited that United was starting a new chapter, or devastated?
It's a really hard one because, look, there's no one better at winning football matches, is there? Right? He's won football matches after football matches, trophy after trophy, and you just can't argue with this. You know, the man is a trophy machine, and he knows how to put together a team again and again and again. He's without peer in being able to create and destroy and then create again. I don't like him very much as a man, you know. I think he's a hypocrite for his support of the Glazer family, and I think he makes some really bizarre decisions a lot of the time, you know, and especially when it comes to players. I think he has no clue whatsoever how to put together a new midfield, you know. It's almost as if he got a great player, old-fashioned player in Roy Keane, and then lucked out on Scholes, Beckham and Giggs. It's almost as if that's the case, you know, because everything since has been really trash, hasn't it?
It has, but there were some pretty alright ones before that as well, it's fair to say, which he kind of put together. Robson, Ince and Keane, pretty good central midfield, wasn't it?
It was. I'm not sure I answered the question. I don't see any reason for Ferguson to go yet. I think he'll go in his own time. I think the question after that is who and what kind of structure, and that's going to be really, really difficult for whoever comes in.
This question isn't like when do you think he's going to go, or, you know, it's would you be excited about the new thing or devastated that he's gone? And much as I kind of, your article where you debated with at Tatiana MUFC about the strength of this United side, and I actually think you both made really perfectly valid points, which they don't actually run contrary to each other. Light is both a particle and a wave. This team is very good and also has substantial deficits. We have some aspects of mental strength and others of mental frailty, and if Ferguson was to retire, I would be both kind of devastated and really excited about what the future held, just because it'll be a novelty if nothing else, and like, I also have very complex feelings about Ferguson the man, because whilst there are many things that kind of count against his character, equally there are things which speak well of his character on a personal level.
Right, yes, there are.
He's done a lot of good in the world as well as won a load of football matches, but he's clearly a very flawed character. He's basically King Lear, essentially. And I can't believe we talked about the Stoke game and the Robin Van Persie goal without talking about that celebration. We went over to the boss, picked him up and hugged him. Never the like has been seen before, has it?
And not again, I would think, either. But Patrice Evra came out the day afterwards and said he wouldn't dare do that. Too right, a Knight of the Realm, almost knocked him off his feet. Look, I take your point, and you're completely right, of course, except, of course, for your comment about the debate. I am, of course, totally and 100% right in that debate, and everyone else is wrong, and that's always the way it's been.
Yeah, clearly. I've been doing a podcast with you long enough to know that, Ed. At Aaron Sohal says, what's your favourite Punjabi sweet? Really good question. Now, I'm not a super expert on what sweet comes from where, so if any of these are not Punjabi, I apologise. First of all, I grew up with a profound love of the jalebi, which I think is like food for children, but now I'm a grown-up, I still love it, because it's like bright orange and it's sweet pastry in syrupy stuff. Amazing. The gulab jamun is a noble and true sweet. I'm very partial to a bit of barfi, clearly. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And then my favourite in general is, I don't think this one is a Punjabi sweet, but it's definitely an Indian sweet, and that's a sweet puri. So like a puri which is then dipped in syrup. Thus endeth my sermon on Punjabi sweets.
My local Indian, Southern Indian, so I think I'm well out of this debate. I like a barfi. It's not bad, is it?
And talking of very sweet, hopefully it will be a very sweet night for Manchester United on Monday as we take on relegation, battling, scrapping, goal of the season scoring Aston Villa. The weirdest team in the league, absolutely atrocious when they're bad, but they've definitely got some talented youngsters. And I have to be honest and say I kind of hope they stay up, because I'd be very interested to see what they're able to do next season with a bit more experience.
Right, well, 3 wins in the last 5 league games, that's not bad, is it? That's not relegation form, for sure. So they're definitely on the up curve. It's, you wouldn't say this is a banker for United at all anymore, because Villa are playing, some half-decent football at the moment. Funnily enough, they've actually scored more goals away from home than they've scored at home. They're an interesting side in that respect.
Their form is a bit of an odd one, because as you say, 3 wins in 5, and they really were on a very significant uptick, but then they didn't beat Fulham at home. Could potentially be disastrous for them, because that was 3 points they really, really needed, because their fixtures are a bit of a pig, starting with the fact that they've got to play us. And even though it's not a banker, because United's form is anything but splendid, the fact that we're at home, and apart from the City game, we've been pretty difficult to beat at home, haven't we? What have we lost 2 games at home, right? We lost the Tottenham game and the City game.
And that's it, yeah. And scored plenty of goals in those games too. So, look, you'd say that United are comfortable favourites to take the tie, that it should be a good victory for United. But let's face facts, right? United haven't played consistently well for quite some time now. There's been a lot of games, okay, played well in parts away to Madrid, also just defended in parts. Played well in parts for the home game against Madrid. Played well in parts against Norwich at home. I think the result, in a way, flattered United because there's a lot of late goals. Really haven't played well in any of the fixtures since then. Played okay at Stoke, but, I don't think it was better than okay. I'd take issue with anyone who said it was. And so this is not a United team that is flowing at the moment. Functionally, can we win? Definitely. Do I see United sticking 6 or 7 past Villa? Absolutely not. I just don't think it'll happen. But will United do enough to win? I think so, yeah.
It's been a fascinating season in terms of good games. On the 7th of October, we beat Newcastle United 3-0 at Newcastle, and that was a pretty complete performance. We beat Wigan Athletic 4-0 away, but that one, it wasn't, I seem to remember maybe did a lot of goals come late in that game. We beat Fulham 4-1 in the FA Cup, but that Fulham side, they were staggeringly, appallingly bad in that game. I don't know if you remember that one.
Right, yep.
Norwich we beat 4-0, but that all happened in the last 10 minutes after they were exhausted, and they sort of gave up when the second one went in. So it's not like we kind of battered them from start to finish. And, you know, there's been no other game this season where we played consistently well. I mean, I think the derby away at City was probably our best, most complete performance of the season, but there were substantial periods of that game where we were really under the cosh because City got it together and were excellent for a bit, you know.
I don't think, in terms of just pure quality of football that United played, I don't think it's been a classic season by any stretch of the imagination. Yet, we could still end up with the biggest points total ever in the Premier League era. And of course, we know that football has only existed since the Premier League was formed. So those two things are highly contradictory, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of true as well, isn't it? You know, I don't think anyone is going to think this is one of the great United sides by any means. There needs to be a little more Stardust in there. United have gone very, very functional after Christmas, and needs must, I suppose. And that's what I was saying about Ferguson being the man who pulls out the results and pulls out the trophies. He kind of knows when to make the change, doesn't he? And we've seen this quite a few times over the years where United have gone a bit functional when necessary, you know, and this team needed to do that, and as a result I think we'll end the season feeling a little bit like meh about a campaign in which we'll have won the league by a substantial distance, and that is a bit odd, isn't it?
It is. I think I'm probably going to end up not feeling that meh about it because the stuff that's kind of meh, I can just sort of discount for a bit in the shiny glory of victory because it will all feel a lot better when somebody lifts that trophy up, you know, if, when and if.
And I will be, you know, texting, emailing, calling, Skyping and carrier pigeoning every blue I know just to tell them that as well.
I want us to win the league as quickly as possible, but I secretly hope that we win it at Chelsea at home because an extremely kind Rankcast listener has got me a ticket for that game.
To come on Monday. Why? How many games have there been on Monday night? It feels like there are a lot.
Yeah, it's a couple of weeks in a row. I guess we haven't really done any actual analysis of what is to come in that game, and we probably should before we finish. Villa really stumbled against Fulham. They've been very extremely mixed side, but they definitely have potential to hurt teams. Benteke will cause problems, and you know we saw Loughton's wonder strike, which was his sort of second version of that of the season. So they have got firepower. Weimann caused us all sorts of problems in a game that seems like a million years ago at Villa Park, where we had to dig in, and Chicharito came on and won that for us. But yeah, what team do you think Fergie will put out for that one?
I don't know. I mean, spin the tombola and let's see what pops out. There's a couple of players that appear to be in favour at the moment and some that aren't, you know. Who knows? Yeah, I don't know exactly what formation or team Fergie will select. I mean, he'll look at how fresh the players are and make a decision based on that one. You know, you'd expect a couple of players out of position, wouldn't you? Because that's just what happens. Interesting. I wonder how close Paul Scholes is to playing again, because wouldn't you just like to see him at Old Trafford one last time? It might not happen, you know. It might not happen.
Don't say things like that, Ed, or near the end of the podcast where we can't recover from it and get all upbeat again. Too sad.
Oh, okay, let's get upbeat again. Bebe has been playing really well for Rio Ave. He gave an interview this week and said it's not his fault that the price was the price it was. So that's £7 million, or about £3.50 to Guimaraes and the rest to Jorge Mendes. I'm not saying that a brown envelope found its way to Ferguson at all, but that was definitely a dodgy deal. Then goes on to basically suggest that everyone since Cristiano Ronaldo in that winger position has been treated unfairly. Says, this happens to Nani often. Ferguson often finds fault with him, probably because he feels he could be at the same level as Cristiano Ronaldo. Of course, Bebe, that's the problem. You just haven't hit the level of Cristiano Ronaldo yet. Otherwise, everything would be wonderful.
Yeah, a couple of different takes on that Bebe interview. Some feeling that his quotes may have been taken slightly out of context, particularly the one where he sort of bragged about Megan Ryan Giggs. Apparently that was said all in good fooling by the young man who we all wish well. Bebe. Imagine Bebe playing for Man United, as if such a thing could ever happen.
Well, we do need another winger next season, don't we?
We do. Zaha and Bebe, one on each wing. Perfect. I'm not equating Zaha and Bebe in terms of level before anyone thinks that I am. So, predictions against Villa. Comfortable 4-0 win to Man United?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a comfortable 2-0 win to Man United.
All right, I'm going to go with 2-1 to United. A little uncomfortable Monday night action for us all. And then relief in the end as we gloriously and triumphantly limp on towards league title number 20. Long may it continue.
Very optimistic of you, Paul. Did notice one of our friends on Twitter, Howard, retweeted a fact from Uberfacts. Apparently men who watch a lot of porn are naturally more optimistic. Just saying, Paul, you know.
And that is ironic in my case, it has to be said. Talking of Howard, by the way, I believe it's something along the lines of 2 weeks until he and his good lady tie the knot. And so a heartfelt congratulations from us over here, and good luck with all the build-up and all that stuff. And we hope it's really good. I think it's the day before the Swansea game or something like that. Right, I think that's it for the show because I can't talk anymore. If you want to get us between now and next week, you can get me at UTD Rantcast. You can get Ed at United Rant on Twitter. Get us both at facebook.com/United Rant. Did we get 100 likes, Ed? You didn't count, did you?
No.
We'll do the 100 likes competition again this time. This time, Ed, look at how many likes we've got before the thing. If we get 100 likes on Facebook, Ed will pretend that he didn't look at how many there are and not have to post anything ever at all. You can get us both at cast@United Rant if you want to drop us an email, or hit up the show page at unitedrant.co.uk, where you'll also find excellent and interesting content from a variety of writers, including your good self, Edward.
I do, on occasion.
And talking of Bebe, as we did, once again, if I may get a little sentimental, the beautiful baby Harvey came into the world this week, and it was absolutely lovely to see, Ed, and really, really happy for you and Mrs. Rant, and wish you and her and him many years of happiness in the future.
It's only down to United, though. That's our happiness. That's what's it's riding on. You know, one more red in the world, but it's going to be a happy red or a sad red.
Don't worry, he'll have his Uncle Paul to teach him about how not everything in the whole world depends on Manchester United. Honest.
Of course, and on that piece of nonsense, we'll bid you farewell.
Farewell.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.